Another Chi rematch here. This was the first one I actually saved the replay from where I was top tier. Myself, Stirling, Archer and Ultron are up against a fairly ordinary enemy team at tier 7. It's not common to see that many good players. The enemy Chinu is already bitching up a storm about landing in a tier 7 game. At this point I'd had a pretty good day, so I was actually surprisingly relaxed considering I'm playing World of Tanks. I head up to the east side of the map, which is where I usually take mediums on South Coast. Beach is basically a suicide run, don't ever go there. Because even if you manage to take the beach, which is unlikely because it's such an open area, you get shot at by TDs from down the other end and also by Arty. But even if you actually take the beach, once you try and get off of it in J3 or A3, you're going to get bottlenecked in and killed. So always push through either the town, the 8-line canyon, or the 0 and 9 lines. Usually I go 0 and 9 just because it gives you that little bit more cover from the rest of the map. In terms of Arty cover, there's very little here, but you know, it's a risk you have to take, and with 2 304s in the enemy team and a lot of stuff in the middle, I was hoping they'd be aiming down there. First up, the Chino gets dealt with because he was in a very stupid position. I don't know why he was there. I guess he'd just given up and wanted to die as fast as possible. Being a bit lazy here, using the old auto aim, but in that situation I just want to snap off a couple of quick shots at the E25 and then back out. Managed to get a blind hit or two into that SU-100M1, and I begin to move across as he pulls behind the rock to avoid being shot at again. And Stirling blocks me very, very rudely, so we have a little bit of a horsepower contest there, which neither of us wins, and then I continue up the hill. Still a couple of unspotted tanks. I surmise correctly, as it turns out, that they're all up here. One of the 304s is aiming this way, but he isn't actually aiming at me, he's aiming at the guy next to me. So for now I'm not worried about him. You see he's really harassing that 3001. Enemy E25 makes a mistake and pushes out, and you can see just how fast the Chiiri's gun handles other tier 6 and 7 tanks. Well, not other tier 6 tanks, because it's a tier 7 itself, but you know what I mean. Tanks at or below its tier, basically. With that said, some of the less healthy tier 8s go down pretty quickly to it as well. Nice little ram kill there from the 3001P. And then while the Tiger P's distracted, I take a couple shots at his cupola. Still going pretty good for hit points at this stage in the game, so I dive in on this guy. He's obviously distracted by the T-150, which he perceives as a much bigger threat because it has a bigger gun. Actually, out of the 2 tanks, I'm probably the bigger threat because I shoot a lot faster than it does. And here comes a bit of comedy. A pair of 304s try to ambush me. First one's unsuccessful, he dives behind a rock, and the second one comes barreling out around the corner behind me, gets a shot into my side, thankfully not for much damage, but I'm able to deal with him. I save my last shell in that clip for the other 304, who comes over the top carelessly, and with that dealt with, there's just the A44 left to clean up, who is heading down the 8-line canyon towards Ultron, no doubt wanting to get an Arty kill in before the match inevitably ends in a loss for him. So while I'm driving over there, the Chiiri's actually rather spry for a tank this size. It's not fast, but I wouldn't exactly call it slow either. It accelerates alright. Its top speed isn't bad, it handles well. It's kind of like the Centurion in that regard. On paper its mobility is garbage, but it's actually not as bad as you would think. has, I think, 10 degrees of gun depression. 10 or 12 is quite a decent amount. Obviously it has next to no armor, but it does have enough to make HE inconsistent, except from very large caliber guns, so I wouldn't recommend it. The few times hobbies have tried to shoot HE at me, unless it's been an SU-152 or RT, it has failed horribly. Because quite often they end up hitting the gun mantlet or something else that won't do a lot of damage, or it just fails to go through the armor. It is a large target, has pretty poor camo. If I recall correctly, its view range isn't too bad, but it's not exactly amazing. So generally what I do with the Cheery is I play it as sort of a second line tank in matches where I'm not top tier, and I'll wait for higher tier tanks to get distracted by other things they perceive as more threatening. Typically a tier 9 tank driver will freak out if a T-54 comes near them, but they won't worry if one of these does. So what you do is you wait for that T-54 to turn up, and as soon as they devote their attention to you, you can pop out and dump 390 damage into their side every 8 or so seconds. I think it's 7 or 8 seconds with a good crew and a rammer. Remembering, of course, that any tank with an auto-loading and non-auto-loading gun choice can mount a rammer on either gun. Has a decent hit point pool, actually, for a tier 7. 1250. That's second only to the Panther, from what I recall. I know it's better than the Comet, and I'm pretty sure it's also better than the T20, so for a tier 7 medium it's quite healthy. That's actually, I think, about as many hit points as the IS has. What else can I really talk about? Just the overall handling of the tank is quite comfortable. It drives nicely, its turret traverses fairly decently, and its gun handling isn't bad. So although it might sound awful on paper, it's actually quite pleasant to drive, as long as you aren't being hit by big guns or focused by artillery. If you can avoid those two things, it's quite a fun little tank. And to the more sort of advanced players who can take a difficult to play tank and make it work, I would say it's worth actually playing this thing and not free XPing through it. In fact, the part of the line I intend on free XPing, I free XP'd from the, if I can remember the name of it, the Kiho, the tier 4 light tank. I free XP'd through the Chino because I already had a Chino Kai and I played the crap out of it, and I really didn't feel like playing the tech tree version of it. I free XP'd through the Cheeto. I've heard it's actually okay for a tier 6, but I just didn't really feel like playing it. So I played through this, ground this out. I'm probably going to skip the STA1 because it's just an ugly Pershing with none of the things that make the Pershing good. So it doesn't have the Pershing's good turret armor, it doesn't have the Pershing's excellent gold ammo for dealing with tier 10s. It does have better silver pen, but it's, you know, that's not really a concern for me. I frankly don't care about whether its silver pen is better. The main issue is whether it can carry in tier 10 games, and the Pershing is better at that because it actually has armor. It's, I think, a slightly smaller target. The STA is quite tall and gross. It looks like it's got warts growing out of it. The other thing is as well, the STA has a frontal transmission, which is only a minor thing. I play a lot of German tanks, so I'm used to it, but that minor thing is enough to make me think, maybe I'll just play my Pershing instead. So I'll probably free XP that. The Type 61 is basically an STA, but slightly less ugly. And at tier 9 with the Japanese copy of the L7A1. I think I might play it just because that gun is so good it would make up for the rest of the tank's problems. And also because I don't want to throw so much money at the game to skip through that and the STA. But either way, I am definitely aiming to get an STB1. I've played it a lot on test, as you've probably noticed. I've seen other people play it a lot. It's one of Commodor's favourite tanks, actually, with good reason. It's just a very well-rounded, enjoyable medium that does everything well. It's got passable armour, passable camo, passable mobility, passable gun, and the best DPM of any medium tank in the game. So the STB is quite a nice little flexible tank, and I think for somebody like me who mostly plays mediums, it's going to be quite enjoyable. But until then, I've got a couple more games worth to grind out on the Chiri, not much, and then I've got to figure out exactly how far up the line I'm willing to skip. But at the moment, it's fairly certain that I'm going to skip the STA, unless somebody can give me a really compelling reason to play it. From what I can tell, it's just, like I said, a worse Pershing and also ugly, which is important. All my tanks have to look good. And in the case of the Chiri, it has a bizarro kind of barn appeal to it. It's like some kind of Mad Maxed panther. Anyway, I got I think a couple more videos of the Chiri to go up, and then a handful of miscellaneous videos, and after that I may or may not continue doing commentated videos. I'm not sure. As you've probably noticed, I upload a lot, probably too many. They take quite a while to make as well, because I have to sort out which ones I want to upload and then record them and upload them and make sure everything's all in order and post up the Postgames. It's a bit of a pain in the ass, so I don't know, I might just go back to my occasional World of Tanks comedy videos, or I might just stop altogether and put up videos of other games for once. But we'll see how we go. There'll probably be a couple videos before I have to make that decision, and inevitably at some point I will go back to doing these. Until then, good luck with tanks, and try not to get too mad at puppies, because that's my job.